Ever hear of Blood Knights? I know, this is the exact same question I posed with my previous review, Oakage Shadow King. But it's appropriate to ask again, at least so I feel. And I'll answer my own question. I haven't. But I came across it on some RPG bundle that I purchased a few months back. So when I was browsing my Steam library looking through my hundreds of games for something new to play and review, I decided on this one. It looked interesting enough, and after playing it, I'm not sure I'd say I would voluntarily play it again, but the short journey was still pretty enjoyable. Let's cut the crap and go right to the story. You play as a holy warrior named Jeremy, who has been magically tied to a vampire named Eliza. Now, it's never exactly told why it was so critical that they were put together, but that's how the story rolls. Your goal in the first area, which doubles as a tutorial, has you trying to slay vampires while also trying to create a barrier to prevent them from being completely unleashed into the world. Jeremy talks to the priest who created this bond several times, and it's mentioned in a few scenes, but short of a very vague, she'll guide you, it's never explained what the advantage is. Oh well. Shortly in, Jeremy is attacked by a vampire boss and is forced to essentially swallow bloody vampire spit. Sexy.
No more.
Afterwards, the priest, named Bartholomew, kicks him off a ledge, but not until he says that the relic they were looking to save is gone. Next, Jeremy sets out on a journey of vengeance, while at the same time looking for that blood seal. During his quest, Jeremy will meet a few friends and enemies, and also some frenemies. I finally get to use that word in a review. First for everything, I suppose. In any case, his former employers weren't really anticipating Jeremy surviving, and now they have a pissed off vampire knight, and also a vampire hunter, gunning for anyone willing to stand in their way. And you'll be slaying a lot of enemies, both vampires and human. The game itself plays as an action RPG of sorts. There's not a lot of exploring that you'll do, as the game is fairly linear, but there's plenty of action. I'm not going to go into specifics into the basics of the game. You can already see that you run around, slashing your threats, seeing numerical damage indicators, gaining XP, earning levels, unlocking skills, etc. It's all of your standard RPG stuff. If you don't know how this stuff works by now, after 250 plus of my reviews, I don't think you'll understand it now. I'm just being honest here. Instead, I'm going to focus on the more original stuff I've seen in the game, and with that, the vampire powers. See, Eliza is tied permanently to Jeremy, and as such, the option has been given to you to play as either character, as you so choose. Jeremy is your standard tank, able to take a bit more punishment and dealing the majority of the damage in standard hand-to-hand combat. Eliza is your ranged fighter, preferring to attack with her bow and grenades. She is a bit quicker, but seems to be a bit more frail too. You can switch between characters with a simple press of the button. Both character skills are fairly similar, but there are a few differences. For one, the basic blood-sucking skill of each character has a different throw available. Jeremy will pull his helpless, levitating enemy towards him, allowing for melee strikes, while Eliza will push them backwards, sometimes potentially off a cliffside. Of course, there are other skills available that are specific for each other's attacks, so there is that too. One interesting thing about the skills is that there is no MP requirements. Instead, the skills have unlimited uses, only requiring some simple cooldown time to prevent you from spamming the hell out of the most powerful ones. This is a nice feature, especially since some skills are almost always necessary to survive when swamped by enemies. Switching characters also requires a small cooldown time of a few seconds. Not sure of the reasoning behind this, but it's there and something you'll have to deal with. One thing I will say about the combat is that it feels way too easy. Perhaps it's because health recovery items are fairly plentiful, and even when you can't get any orbs, you can always absorb the blood of your foes. The bosses are really the only challenging part, and this difficulty is thrown right out the window when you figure out that you can just use Eliza and fling arrows like they'll never run out. Mainly because they won't. By the time the enemy tries to close into attack, you may have already run out of dangerous way and can keep firing. Sure, grenades help too, but ultimately they aren't really needed in those situations. After defeating your enemies, they will drop gold, which will allow you to buy equipment at the multiple vendors that you may run into throughout the game. The strange thing is that the time in which you can pick up this gold is delayed slightly. You kill the enemy, you'll see it drop to the ground, and then maybe a second later you'll be free to grab it. I never understood this kind of thing, but then again, I also don't make games, I just play them. Another thing you'll notice as you're playing the game is the voice acting. Jeremy and Eliza aren't so bad, but most of the other NPCs are a bit less than average. And then we come to the demon. Oh god, this you just have to hear for yourself. I can't help but laugh.
Tell me, why were you summoned?
For thousands of years, vampires ruled, and men lived in fear. But this is changing. Humans increase in population. They've become more and more every day. They're not afraid anymore. They start hunting the vampires. I was called to end this. I will
This
seek
demon
them out, hunt
talking.
them, tear their
I just
soft
can't
little
take it.
bodies apart
It's just freaking hilarious.
until they're
The graphics are pretty impressive, at least in my opinion. Everything looks pretty crisp, especially some of the scenes when you're fighting in the castle. This is definitely an area of the game I can't complain about. Well, other than some of the characters. Some of the NPCs have a weirdly
You're
over-glossy look to them.
Thank you,
Either they are
priest.
sweating profusely or
We
something.
will be taking
I know a lot of games had characters with armor
Paladin.
that shines way too much,
I was
but I
promised
can't
to
recall
carry
one where a
Mr.
bald guy
Roll
looks like he just got out of a
myself.
shower without drying off. Another nice thing is that the
has
game loads
other
quickly.
plans.
When you're traveling between scenes or decide to change stages, you're only waiting for a few seconds. This is something I'm usually more thankful of in games I die a lot in, but even in games I think are a cakewalk, I'm still happy. I think that's really all I have for Blood Knights. It's tragically short, clocking in at about 4 hours, so I'm glad I paid less than $10 for it. I wouldn't say it's an underrated game or anything, but there's definitely better stuff on the market. But if you have a weekend or even a day to kill, and you find this game for $5 or less, then by all means give Blood Knights a playthrough. Just be prepared to laugh once you reach that demon, because, oh god, the voiceover.
So step aside and behold the slaughtering.
And as a final note, I use the Steam controller when I play this game. Not sure how well the keyboard would translate to the controls, but
God knows.
I'm
what
just
he'll
letting
do
you
if
know.
he gets hold of this.
final score? 7 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.